Every once in a while, I'll cut a piece and it'll just drop right in. That's pretty rare. I almost always have to go back and make small adjustments. Sometimes with these smaller pieces like his ear, even his chest piece, because there's not a lot of deep angles here, they were fine the first time. Even the skulls, I don't think I had to do any adjusting. But this piece with this inside cut and these narrow points and curves that have to fit perfectly into these pieces, and the fact that I had to trace it from another piece, I'd be shocked if this fit perfectly the first time. But that's kind of just how working with glass goes. So I'm really just trying to see how close I got and what adjustments will need to be made. And that's actually pretty close. I don't think this is going to fit just yet. Oh, almost. This is where we come back in with our trusty marker. So I need to make this just slightly deeper. That needs to come down just a hair. I think this needs to be just a little bit deeper. But we are actually almost there. Okay, a couple of tiny adjustments. Very nice. That fits like a dream. And the arm piece, perfect. There's just enough of a gap. That's another tricky thing about working with stained glass that you have to be mindful of. You don't want things to fit 100% snug. You do need a little bit of wiggle room. We need to apply copper foil along the edge of both of these pieces, which has a certain thickness to it, and there needs to be room for the solder to flow between the pieces, because that's what's ultimately going to hold them together. Now I just need to repaint some of that line work, get that back in the kiln. The kilning process takes about 8 hours. Takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get up to temperature, and then a slow cooling process. As you probably know, glass doesn't like to be heated up and cooled quickly. That leads to breaks. So it's a slow process, which is why I haven't fired these in the kiln yet. I haven't fired these in the kiln. I want to do them in batches. My kiln is 11 inches by 11 inches, so I want to maximize the full utility of that space to be efficient, because it does take so long. I've just finished applying shading to the last few bits that need extra layers of shading. Got his cowl there, some extra shading on his hair. This has a few layers of shading. I wanted to give his hair some nice dimension. The leaves, I've painted the grapes. I think those came out really nice. Got that fired up. Some extra details on his armbands. This is pretty much the last work that I need to do on the character himself. I think it's all come together really nicely. And we got his hair. These extra layers of shading in the hair, they're kind of subtle, so they don't really show up too much when it's not lit. It's one of those things where once you get light behind the glass, you really start to see some extra depth because of those extra layers. Just kind of dropping these in here right now, not too worried about getting them perfect just yet. I'm going to do some tinkering to get it all perfectly lined up and pinned before I do the background. Overall, I'm very happy with the character. I think these colors are working out really well. I really like this grapevine and trellis. I like that organic way of breaking up the glass. I think it's going to work out really nicely. And again, with these, it's just a really subtle bit of shading down on the bottom and top of this so that the middle is nice and highlighted like a reflection. Just a little detail that adds some nice depth to the piece. You've got all of Zagreus complete and shaded. Now I just need to start working on the background. My initial plan was to use clear, like a textured clear glass. They have some glass that has like a watery sort of look to it. But when I was trying to pick out that glass, I realized that since this piece is probably not going in a window, it's going to be hanging up on a wall with a LED light box behind it to provide the illumination. To do that process, I put diffusion paper behind the panel, and that means that if I use clear, even if the clear has a texture, you're going to lose that texture because there's just going to be white diffusion paper behind it. And I tested it out a few times and it just isn't working. So I spent a lot of time looking at a lot of glass, and I came across this, and this is what I've decided to move forward with. What I like about it is when it's not lit, it has a really nice sort of marble look to it, which I think ties nicely to the character. When you think Greek, we often think of their use of marble in their architecture and in their artwork. So I think that ties nicely to the character. I think the yellowish amber sort of streaks in here tie nicely to the skin tones and the woodwork. So I think it'll look really nice when it's not lit, as well as when it is lit. It really warms up into this nice warm color, and it still has that marbling effect, but I think that will look really nice with an LED, which this is. It's an LED light pad, so this is kind of a preview of the lighting that we're going to get out of this piece. If you'd like to commission a piece, message us through our Etsy store at the web address in the description below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and visit us at our website at jupiter-glass.com.